Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Country Club Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Leo McMahon. Today, our guest is Brian Cairns. Brian is from the Fox Hills Learning Center in Michigan. Brian is or was the 2015 National PGA Senior Player of the Year. He's won every playing award possible in the Michigan section of the PGA of America. He's played in several PGA championships. And welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
It's great to have you on, and that's some playing record you have there. So take us back to the first time you picked up a golf club.
Oy. Oh boy, you're taking me back to. I mean, my father was born and raised in Scotland, so it was in his blood. Obviously, my grandfather, had an apartment, and he built a little par 3 course behind his apartment complex, I mean, I didn't know any different. I just always had a club in my hand when I was young. And probably 4 or 5 years old, I picked up a golf club and was told to hold it appropriately and sternly. And it went on from there. And I was lucky enough. My father was a member of the club up here in Michigan, and after that, we always had a place down in Florida, so we always enjoyed golf as a family with 2 other brothers, and my dad and myself. We always had a good force. So I was lucky. I was lucky.
Your father came over from Scotland?
Yes, he was born and raised in Glasgow. He went through the
Wow.
war. Yeah, went through the war there and grew up at a 9-hole golf course just outside of Glasgow in Paisley, and it was in his blood. It was my grandfather. My grandfather, I couldn't understand what he was saying. It sounded like he had marbles in his mouth, but those Highland Scot people are tough to understand. But it was great. My grandfather was very meticulous about the way we approached the game, and sit down and let's read about this and architecture. And so I learned a lot from my grandfather and my dad, not only how to play the game, but all the background history, and I thought it was really cool. It was interesting as a kid. I mean, it couldn't interest me in math or science, but man, golf course and golf course design and how to play golf was the coolest thing I ever heard of.
So your father had a Scottish accent too?
He kind of lost it. You could kind of hear it in the background, but he kind of lost it because he got here in the mid-50s. But
Right.
my aunt still held on to it she's still alive. But she held on to it, still holds on to it. But no, not too bad. My father, they came here with basically nothing, and my dad did very well in business. So, a good, true American success story.
Right. So how'd you play in high school? Were you a pretty good high school player?
I won states, and I was okay. Found beer. Junior and senior year, didn't play as well, but I was lucky enough to go to Florida and play down in Tampa, and transferred down to Barrie in Miami, and it kind of squandered. I was into the party scene in Miami in the '80s, and now, I mean, I guess when I got out of college, and I met Mr. Fergal, and um, he kind of showed me, straightened me out a little bit, and I played a lot of golf with Ed Fergal and Mike Sanfilippo, and taught me how to really, really play high-end golf, high-end competitive golf. So, and
Now
I was
you
on my
learned.
way.
Did you say Ed Fergal?
Yes, Ed Fergal mentored
That-
me
He,
through college.
he won a U.S. Open, right?
Yes, 1954.
Wow.
Yeah, he was retired down there, and him and Helen became good friends, his wife, and he told me the stories of how he traveled. And I caddied for Eddie in some Champions Tour events, super senior events. I got to meet, we met Hogan and, Jerry Barber and, Ford and, the great old players. I mean, I caddied for Sam Snead a couple of times. So it was really, he opened some doors for me that was just like, wow, man, these guys are like on my mantle. There's pictures on my mantle of these guys,
Right.
and I got to meet them and hang out with them and watch them hit balls. And so that just fueled the fire for me to really get going. in the business, not in the business, but the play, and which I did. I played in some mini tour events and I won some early on, but yeah, I just wasn't, I drank too much. That was my downfall in golf.
So you went over pretty quick. You were the Michigan high school champion?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Sophomore year, actually. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty
I
impressive.
couldn't hit it. I couldn't hit it for a lick. I couldn't hit it out of my shadow, but I learned how to chip and putt from Mr. Koshes, Chuck Koshes at Red Run. I grew up at Red Run, and Chuck Koshes is probably one of the best amateurs that ever lived in the game of golf. And he was, Paul Runyon was there once in a while, so I got to watch Mr. Runyon teach Mr. Koshes, and in the early '70s. So, I mean, you talk about lucky to everything that I've
Yeah.
been given. Yeah, I'm a very lucky person to see what's happened in front of me, and it wasn't until after later I conquered my alcohol addiction or I helped or stopped drinking, but that I really realized what I had, and I got to get my crap together because I have a lot to give back here. I got a lot of information, so it went from there. I just happened to play in PGAs after the alcohol and so on and so forth, and my teaching business went through the roof.
So let's go back to Ed Burrow for a second. He had a withered arm, right? He didn't have a fully
Right.
developed arm.
Yeah, he broke it when he was 7 years old and never got it fixed. So it was actually longer than his right arm because it was withered and skinny. So it was just basically bone, and he couldn't straighten it. And he did an unbelievable job because I heard Hogan say one time, he says, "Man, best one iron player I've ever seen, Ed Virgil." I'm like, I turned my head around. I was like, well, that was Ben Hogan speaking. So, Virgil controlled his golf ball amazingly well for a guy with a broken left arm. He unfortunately was not a great putter, so he didn't win a lot, but he won U.S. Open, won the original Bing Crosby back in '49. I believe it was '49 or '50, and Canadian Open, Michigan PGA. One of my proudest moments was calling Ed Virgil and say, "Hey, I'm on the same trophy you are, Michigan PGA
Wow.
trophy." That was really
Wow.
cool. It was really cool. But he gave his information freely, just walking 9 holes with him every morning at 6:30, and it was just like going to school. But I couldn't wait to go to school.
So what was the one thing that, if you pick one thing with Ed Fergal, what's the one thing that really impressed you about him?
Um, his ability to really talk his way through the shot, and he anticipated the turf interaction and how he was going to control the ball flight based on his turf interaction. It's really incredible, and you think about it now, it's like we don't even think about turf interaction and ball flights because we have so many measuring devices with TrackPan and everything else. But they already knew what was going to happen to the golf ball. I couldn't believe, and I just took it for granted, like, oh, God knows what's going to happen to the golf ball. Okay, that just takes a long time to learn that, I guess.
Right.
All those old timers had it figured out, so
So
he would relay that to me. He would relay, it says, watch this shot. This 2 iron is going to come off a little left of my target and then come back to my target because my club is coming down from the outside and it's going to crash into the turf a little bit deeper. And it was just amazing, his understanding of the ball and the ball flight.
so you went from Barry University. You said you won some mini tour events.
Yeah, I won a couple of Florida Tour events early on. Thought I was a hot shot, but not really. Not good.
So I'm
So
thinking this could change a little bit, Brian, because I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, and there might be one or two other golf professionals out there that struggle with alcohol.
yeah, you think?
So
After
how did you
after
how did you go
after
about quitting?
um, it was a unfortunate comedy of errors. Um, in 2008, the tail end of 2008, my wife at that time kind of had it with me in my act. I owned a driving range back then, and it was all fun and games to me. Just didn't go home, and then that was it for me. My marriage, unfortunately, with two young kids. Um, And that was kind of a slap in the face. And, I try looking at yourself in the mirror and go, wow, what a failure you are. But didn't stop me initially from drinking. It took another active leading the tournament in Michigan, and then someone going, "Hey, you know what you just did?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we had a good time." Oh, your son's sitting there watching you, dummy. And it just dawned on me, like, what am I doing? This kid's 11, 12 years old, my son, and he's just looking at his dad, and it scared the crap out of me. I dropped him off at home that week of the tournament. Actually, I was leading the tournament, and then obviously I didn't win, but I dropped him off and immediately went to a boot camp in up north, northern Michigan for 5 days, and it was like it wasn't like prison, but it was pretty close. And we sat there for 5 days and did what we did. But a lot of mad mothers buzzed through there, and wow, was that eye opening. But I really still till recently never really tackled the problem of why I drank, and it's always constantly learning, as you know, whether you go through the 12 steps of alcoholism, with AA, or you find someone really to sit down and talk to and kind of iron out your pattern of behavior that led to this. So that's the journey that I've been on, and I continue to fight it. Not fight it, I think just calmly attack it, I guess I could say.
Right.
Because
Yeah, I have a similar story. Like you, I looked in the mirror, and hey, what's going on here? This is not the person you want to be, and the only way I can be the person I want to be is alcohol has to leave the equation if I want to have a chance.
right.
So I can relate to what you said there.
But alcohol is just an excuse, I guess, not to go home, not to pay attention. Everything's gonna be all right. You know, some people grow up and some people don't, and I didn't.
Right.
So it was very humbling, and to this day, people are shocked. Like, I can't believe you did that, because they knew how crazy and out of control I was. So I'm done. I just cold
Right.
turkey, done. And I happened to play for whatever 3, 4 PGAs. The consequential years after that, 2010, 12, 15. It's like, wow, what a coincidence, huh, Leo? You know, get some clarity in your life and you can play golf. And I met somebody else, Caroline's my current wife, and that really helped. I mean, because she was not a drinker either, and to have someone right next to me not drinking and, appreciating what I went through, but she kind of liked what I did as far as playing golf, tournament golf, and then evolving into a mentorship as an instructor. It was, you got to have those right people at the right time come in your life, or else it doesn't happen.
Right. That's very real important. You know what I found, like most addicts, when I was drinking, I was very selfish. It was all about me, and I didn't
Sure.
realize what I was doing to the other people in my life.
Right.
And now I try to be selfless, and try to help and serve as many people as I can. And that's about as simple as I could make it.
Yeah, I wish I would have tackled that a lot earlier, because I still was, and I guess to some degree I still am. And that's probably my biggest hurdle. Well, that's my
Yeah,
biggest hurdle, because I was so good at it for so long and I was so blind to it that I didn't know any better. Gee, was a slap in the face losing your family didn't wake you up to that? God, I mean, am I that dumb? But you know, it's never too late to learn. You can tell that to anybody you give a golf lesson to. It's never too late to learn. You're 70, you can learn something here and get better. So I believe in that analogy even into real life. It's never too late to learn. You can always be a better person, be a better person to somebody else.
exactly. Exactly. It never stops. Just keep learning and growing. Exactly.
Right. Right.
So you played in five PGA championships. That's a lot, man.
Well, I
Uh,
played. Yeah, yeah. It was a fun. I only played in three.
Three. Okay.
Yeah, I only played in three, but even having done that, I would say I'm probably the best overachiever I've ever met in my life. Because
Why
if
is
you see
that?
me, well, if you see me swing and you know how I play golf and how I get the score that I do, it's amazing. And like every high level, I taught James Pide as a kid. And James, I still teach James. He won the U.S. Amateur and subsequently played Live. So I played a lot of golf with James in his formative years, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. We played a lot of golf, 36, 4 or 5 days a week. And he couldn't believe
Wow.
that he couldn't beat me with an awful laid off, bowed left wrist golf swing that who knows where the ball was going to go off the tee, but man alive, you make a 10-footer for par again, another one. So I taught James that tenacity and overachieving is the key to the game.
Right,
Grab a pair, stand in that first tee, and just refuse to make a bogey
right.
and go play golf. And I overachieved in that madness, I guess people would say. And I really, really enjoyed playing golf ugly. I really did. I didn't, another day on the golf course of hitting 7, 8 greens and shooting 67, 68 was, well, man, that was a lot of fun for me.
Now, do you think Paul Runyon had an influence on that?
I think so. The stuff I heard from him, and I remember my dad took us down to watch Mr. Grout and Nicholas when I was young. And, the simple things that Grout would say to Nicholas, like, hey, is that ball flight too high, Mr. Grout? And Grout would walk over and hand him a 5-iron instead of a 7-iron. Say, just keep hitting it up in the air. Don't worry about it. And it's like, wow, don't change your swing just because it's windy. Just play golf. So
Right.
even Runyon said this, just figure out the lie. You'll get that the experience of the lie of the golf ball from playing more golf and playing tournament golf. And then Ed Virgil repeated that, when I was, 18, 19, 20 years old. He says, dude, all you gotta do is play tournament golf. You'll learn so much from playing more tournaments, more tournaments, more tournaments. And he's right. Banging balls never taught me anything, but playing tournament golf made me hardened. It made me aware of where to miss the ball and how to get it up and down and how to be a little more, my IQ went up drastically. It went up really, really fast playing more tournament golf in college and after college. And it kind of formulated my way.
Yeah, I'm just thinking you can't waste a shot in tournament golf. You just can't. You got to keep the ball in play, or you're dead.
Right. You can't make a major error, right? You can't have a major problem in your game. You can't have a two-way miss. That's number one. And he taught me, Fergal's like, whenever I missed it short right. Everything was short right. Everything. I won the Open at Baltusrol. I hit whatever, 60 or 72 greens, which is like unheard of. He just couldn't make a putt. But he had complete control of his golf ball, obviously, something that I've never had. But and it's funny that you learn all this and you hear all this, and then most of the players I teach now, they don't curve the ball. It's like, why would you curve the ball? Just why don't you just aim down the middle of the fairway and hit it straight down the middle of the fairway because of the modern equipment and modern technology in the ball. Call it what you may, but it should not be curved. It should just go right down the middle of the fairway every time.
Now, I'm not as good as you are, but I used to curve the ball a little bit. I can't curve it anymore with these new golf balls.
Now, the only time I curve it is by accident, you would say, but just brutal golf swings make my ball curve now. So, but yeah, on purpose, you're in the rough and you want to hook one around a tree, it ain't hooking. I mean, we lack speed, Leo. That's a problem now. We can't curve the ball. But it's bizarre. You want to talk about in a generation, in our lifetime, the game has changed. I mean, like drastically. Like the biggest change in the world has been computers, the internet, and golf. Because golf was archaic when I grew up with, whatever, steel shafts and wooden heads and crappy irons. They vibrated and, bad golf pride grips. You had to switch a lot. And now Man, the equipment lasts. It's
Balls
unbelievable.
blast.
Ball lasts forever. I can play one ball around. It's incredible. And it doesn't curve. Ball goes straight up in the air. Now it's like, wow, I hit it farther and higher than I did 20 years ago.
And
And
the
I'm
greens
older.
are better and the fairways are better.
Well, everything's better. I mean, the instruction's incredible. The, pressure mats, pressure plates and TrackMans and, gears telling us exactly how we should move, and the trainers, the specific putting coaches. I can get my players in front of some incredibly smart, like a David Orr, incredibly smart people to talk about putting. And I think that's the biggest thing is the addition to putting coaches, because they're really good at what they do. I mean, I just can't do that. I'm not very smart when it comes to putting, but man, there's some guys out there that are extremely good at, seeing putting strokes and seeing different things around the
So what
greens.
so what kind of technology do you use when you teach somebody?
I use V1. I use pressure mats, pressure plates, and TrackMan, and the quad once in a while. I mean, I don't use quad. I don't put stickers on clubs. I just use TrackMan for club data, but I guess the quad's the easiest to plop down and see how far the ball's going at any given elevation or any given, climate conditions when it's cold or it's warm, But, and I don't let the students so much see all that information. That is for learning and feels. They'll see enough to feel what they need to feel and within a reason of technicality in my mind. But I'm really cautious about it. Again, I kind of taught James Pyatt as a little kid just to play golf and play the golf ball, not to play swing. Oh, so what? You made a bad swing. Just go figure it out. Go chip it up on the green and make it for par. Who cares? Get on with it.
Right,
We
right,
we have really gone the wrong way with technology here, and I guess I can be guilty of that sometimes of overanalyzing stuff.
right. Do you use artificial intelligence at all?
I'm starting to use that sports box thing, and I was at the U.S. Open with one of my players, Grant Hefner, and the sports box guy's been all over me for 2 years to use it. I'm like, I want to use this, but I used it a few times, and I'm like, this is actually helpful for me. This makes it a lot easier. So I'm like, I can't admit I'm using the AI here. I really can't believe it, but I
So,
have a long way
so
to go to learn that.
yeah. So I don't know much about it. Can you explain a little bit about Sportsbox?
Well, Sportsbox would analyze any setup position, um, and then based on certain parameters that they kind of have with that, let's say body type or muscular development or size, and then the correct pelvic tilts relative to the spine, side bends, and some pelvic thrusts, and it's going to put the player without putting gears on you. If you know what gears is, more of a laser guided system where you put some electrodes on somebody. Without putting all that on there, I'd say this is pretty doggone accurate, because I can look at side bends in my golf swing, and then I put it on sports box, and they get right to specific angles. Am I in a good zone here? Am I in a good zone here? So I can go through certain parts of the swing and really attack why my angle, let's say my side bend's too drastic to my right side. Well, I don't have any, enough lateral pressure under my left foot in order for my right side to kind of push up and get my side bend more erect through impact. You know, AKA a little bit more left side bend on the downswing. So the AI stuff, I think, has sped up my formulation, I guess you could say. Instead of standing there and figuring out, okay, I got to have a game plan in about 7 minutes here. If I have a new student in front of me, I better go in a certain direction. It has really sped that process up, formulating a little mini game plan on what to tackle first in the whole process of trying to help somebody out.
So the major flaw stands out, and you're able to go after that first.
Yes, I would say so. Okay, 911. I'm a face vector guy, obviously, Leo. I look at the face and foremost the face and how it's reacting to the plane angle and or vice versa. You know, is the plane angle making the face open up because it's too shallow? You know, but I like the face angle, the vector of the face. You know, the speed and the direction of the face first and foremost. But then, what major flaws causing mishits? You know, because okay, the vector of the face is going the right direction, but they're not hitting the middle of the face. So what causes that? It's got to be some pressure, you know, or wrist angles. You know, you've got all these other things. You know, hack motion I use quite a bit too to analyze wrist motions, which is another unbelievable device that very few people are using. And you can really get down to the nitty gritty of what's going on in the golf swing extremely fast. And as you know, you've taught the game that the best guys can analyze the quickest and then come up with a fix, formulating fix. You're not going to fix something right away, but you can formulate what needs to be fixed to hit the ball in the middle of the club face more often.
You know, it's funny. I haven't taught professionally in decades, and when I was teaching, you know, they had video, which was great and it helped, but nowhere near the technology they have today. The technology that they have today. But I watched Butch Harmon give a clinic once, and he just pulled people out of the audience one after another and diagnosed them and gave them the cure in like seconds. I mean,
Right.
perfect analysis, you know, and perfect, you know, practice routine for them to work on, and instantly they hit the ball better. I mean, the guy, I've never seen anything like it. It was pretty damn impressive.
Well, I think Butch obviously is the best matcher that I've ever seen. Like,
What
okay,
do you?
my swing patterns this way. Okay, I lay the club off, I bring it down on a flat shaft plane angle. I sit on my right side, and then I kind of just I move my hands extremely fast to move the club face. You could say I'm a flipper, but I'm not really a flipper. I'm a square of the club face. Whether I extend my left wrist or bow my left wrist depends on my ball flight. But um, I mean, Butch would say, "We just got to get you on your left side faster, boy." And go, "What about my backswing?" So, hey, backswing's great. I love it. Let's go. I'm like, wow. I mean, talk about a mixer and matcher. You didn't even address my backswing. It's on 72 different plane angles on the backswing, the downswing. And he goes, nah, it's perfect. Let's move on with that. You know where it's going back there and what's happening. Let's just get on your
Yeah.
left side faster. And anyway, you stand up and hit on your left side. I'm like, oh my God, you see that ball? Like, so, I mean, that's a gift, you know. And other guys have said to you, says, I don't know how you can see that face angle at the top of the swing and the downswing. It's like, I don't know. It's a gift, but I can see
Right.
a face angle. And that's what I hone in on. And I've gotten pretty decent at it, I guess. But uh, the quicker you can come up with an analysis and then to get that player better, obviously you gain faith and you can progress so much faster if the person has faith in you because they're going to give you all they got then.
So it sounds like artificial intelligence can help you analyze the swing quicker,
Yes.
and will it give you the prescription to get better quicker also?
It won't vis-a-vis the analysis I'm getting back from it, you know, in a technical format, in a technical form. You know, maybe, okay, he's got whatever, 78 degrees of side bend in the back on the downswing. 78 degrees is a lot. 36 degrees of side bend in the downswing. Okay, let's get it to 25. Okay, how am I going to do that? Okay, I'm going to get left side pressure. I'm going to get the pelvis to move forward earlier so I can get his spine, you know, the right toe to push up a little bit more and give him a little bit more of a vertical spine angle through impact. So it'll advance the numbers so I can reanalyze and say, okay, did our numbers get better from that aspect of where we started from? Yes, it did. But I never knew that it could be 40 degrees and what's a good angle for this guy? 25 degrees? Okay, well, I got to keep moving this guy more and more and more. Okay, there we are. We're in the green now. Sports box says, yep, bing, 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 bing. You're moving correctly. You're moving efficiently. I'm like, wow.
So,
You know,
your student, he won't know any of this technical information. You'll give it to him in simple terms.
right.
But what I like, and I haven't used any of these machines. What I like about it, it's giving you a number to monitor to make the student better. It's not your eyes and guessing. It's giving you an exact number.
Yes, absolutely. With like a hack motion, it actually gives audio feedback. It's going, "Wheep," and then if that stops, that ringing stops, then you're out of range. And the
Not
student feels a buzzing on their wrist, like, okay, I went into early extension with my left wrist, you know? So, how to bow your left wrist or how to go into wrist flexion or not extend or not cast the club. It'll guide you through that, with the buzzing and with the noise if you want the noise on. But it's incredible the aids that we're getting now.
so what's this
And
hack motion? I've never heard of that. What's that all about?
hack motion was done in Denmark. I'm trying to think of the gentleman. I just talked to him, but it goes on your wrist. Um, your wrist, and there's a device that will go halfway up your forearm, and then a little electronic device extends downward, and you can either use a strap to attach it to the back of your left hand, your lead hand, your right hand or left hand, or attach it to your glove. Now, through the golf swing, it's a 3D motion of your wrist angle relative to your forearm. So you stand there and you wiggle your hand around, and let's say I have it on the computer or on a tablet. That hand's moving around. You can see it moving around, and you can see how it's moving in real time throughout the golf swing. And at 6 or 7 different integrals parts of the golf swing, it's being scrutinized or analyzed, and in the good, in the green, and the yellow, the red being the bad. And okay, we got to attack this red. You have a little bit early, you know, maybe your hand is going in ulnar deviation, which is a lot of droop with your lead wrist on the downswing, and which would cause steep shaft plane angles and toe impacts. So you can quickly get to that information. Okay, we have to go to radial. Keep your left hand hinged up more, and then we can get some more left, lead wrist flexion through impact, giving you, okay, that's how we strike a ball with your hands ahead of the ball. The basic easy term of how to hit a golf ball. Your hands kind of have to be leading the club head. So this hack motion again really it's for the better player, obviously. But let's say I have a 6 or 7 year old in there that's kind of is a pretty good athlete, moves well, is a hockey player or baseball player. They know how to move their legs and they know how to swing a golf club forward toward the target. I'll put that on them or put them on a pressure mat and say, hey, let's play a game here. Let's move this way. Or let's not make this thing sing, or let's not see any red. So from a game standpoint to a little athlete, it
Yeah,
works
yeah, yeah.
well. And then a high-end athlete, it works extremely well. It moves them through the learning process fast because they're looking for feels.
So that's where I guess it sounds like, and again, I haven't used any of this stuff. It sounds like your challenge is how do I take all this information that I'm getting and feed it to the student in a real simple format.
Right. Yeah, that's my task. There's some guys I know that are technical guys, and okay, I'm going to share a lot more, angular momentum or angular stuff with them. And then there's some guys like a James Pyatt. He don't want to know anything. He goes, how's that look? And he knows what after whatever 16 years of working together, he kind of knows what I expect out of him. The shaft plane angle and the face angle, and how the body should work or move through the bottom of the swing. And he's evolving, getting stronger, and things change. And okay, he's playing high level golf, super high end golf. So we have to get a little more specific about anything, but he shouldn't still know the technicalities. How does that look? Well, no, not quite. Let's get the club a little more up here. Okay. So he makes a couple motions, he feels it, and he goes, how about that? I'm like, you got it. So you kind of have to coach the person along into a feel. Now, if they don't feel it and they're very linear, then you have to use a lot of videos. Depends how they learn, linear and nonlinear, um, and kind of coach them in that pattern. But you kind of have to let them know that how they move, your restrictions, whether we need a trainer or not. And then from that format, what kind of swinger are you? You're an arm swinger, you left post, you right post. So I believe in all that stuff too. People move a certain way, and you can't deny that. So under all that analysis, okay, I got to formulate a little plan for this guy and or person, and then all right, we got to hit this ball in the middle of that club face every time.
Yeah, so for the people at home that are listening in that aren't golf instructors, this all can sound pretty complicated, but Brian's able to give it to his students in a very, very simple way. So it's understandable and he's patient and they get to work on a feel out of all the information that he's consumed.
Well, I put it to let's say I get in kind of my little MO in the state of Michigan is I'm a developer. Take a kid, he's 11 or 12 years old, he's already playing tournaments, he's already been coached in some degree, and make his technicality of his swing a little better, and then we start moving the speed ranges when they're ready, under a trainer's guise of how they can move and how fast they can move. But I have to nurture them and coach them into somehow playing golf and then feeding them the right amount of information. And then,
Right.
well, wait a minute, you got to be a great academic too. But I put it in the analogy of, if I was going to change your pattern in the morning, I'm going to make you get up on the other side of the bed tomorrow. How many days is it going to take you to get up on that other side of the bed? It's a pattern. So for anybody that's not a golfer listening to this, it says all we're doing is changing a message pattern, neurological pattern from your brain to your body, which equates to a feel. A feel could be repeated. A memory cannot be repeated. Our muscles don't remember things. But a pattern is memorable. I can get up on the other side of the bed, but it's cognitive first, and then we turn it into a repetitive motion, and then it's second nature second. And that's when you take it on the golf course. Okay, let's take it to a golf course and feel it now with an uneven lie. And now, okay, let's take it to the next level. Let's hit this shot with some consequences, and let's take it to the biggest level. Tournament processes. Can you do this in the tournament when you have to? So
So
it's that
that's
coaching
interesting.
element. That coaching element of that pattern changes takes time. It really does.
So you're not relying on a memory of what you're working on. You've changed you've consciously changed the pattern
Mhm.
and you're trying to make it a routine, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah, whether a routine, okay, I'm going to put some sticks down here and I want you to warm up with these sticks here to kind of remind you that this is the pattern. Let's say we have I have a high swing speed guy and I want him to swing a little more left with a de-lofted face, causing a little pull fade per se, let's say. Okay, so let's put some sticks here and you need to get the club a little bit more outside your arms on the downswing and let's move the club over here. Just remind yourself of that feeling. And just nudging them along, and nudging a person along and really guiding them, and sometimes not a positive manner. Sometimes I got to be stern, and keep these kids accountable or, people accountable. But at the end of the day, it is a lot of encouragement because I know how hard it is to move a swing. I know better than anybody else because somebody trying to help me with my swing, moving an inch feels like, oh my God, I can't do this. Or serving a tennis ball. I take tennis lessons once in a while. And it's like, I can't serve a ball. I can't see a ball over my head and expect to hit it over a net with any kind of speed. Oh my God, this is daunting. So the humility of learning that really made me understand what that person in front of me is feeling.
Do you ask a lot of questions when you teach?
Yes. Yes. I mean, their knowledge, you can kind of dive into their IQ. You kind of see when they're walking down the hallway. We have a beautiful performance center with a bar in it, and it has 8 TrackMan bays, a couple in near the bars, and then we have, indoor outdoor bays where we can roll up the shades and the garage doors and it balls outside, but the technology's still inside. You can kind of see how the person walks. So you're kind of formulating, okay, this guy's right eye dominant. The way their eyes move, are they linear, non-linear? Their head tilts this way or that way. It's a learning type. So all that stuff that I learned early on, actually in business schools, I learned all that stuff in the PGA, believe it or not, at how people act and how people learn. And so just so happens that was really important. Formulating a relatively quick reaction, how somebody's going to learn and be taught. So, uh, to answer your question, I'm not quite sure what your question was. To tell you the
Well,
truth.
because here's what I'm doing. I'm relating it to being a general manager and
Yep.
helping people recover from addiction. It seems to go better if they think it's their idea. So
Yep.
if I can lead them to thinking that it's their idea, I ask them questions. They come up with
Yeah.
the answers, so they think it's their idea, the solution. Can you
Right.
do that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So you could honestly say something. Let's say you have somebody with a bad pattern. I'd say, well, if this is your pattern, and unless you're going to drop everything you do and change this pattern, and it's going to take you so many reps to do this, and I'm going to be honest with the person, wouldn't it be better if we just changed one thing? And you kind of put the student or the person up against the wall by saying that, by asking them questions. Well, what would you think would be the biggest factor in helping your pattern based on where it is right now? And they
Right,
99% of the time
right.
come up with the answer. They come up with the answer. Well, I got to make my face better. Bing. Okay, let's go
All
make your
right,
face
there you
better.
go.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so the face is always the answer in golf. You can always make someone's face better to their pattern, and they know that. You
So
know,
I don't have any knowledge of this technology, but if what I'm listening to, I would show them the information. Look, here's where you are, and here's where you're supposed to be based on the numbers or the colors or whatever. How do you think we should get there? Like you just said. And
right,
sometimes they might come up with the right answer. If they come up with the wrong answer, now I have to figure out a way to guide them to the right answer.
right, right. So, well, I'll turn on certain, let's say the face to path. I'll have that on. I'll have their path on there. I won't necessarily show them other things, angle of attack, or the spin line. Some of the metrics I don't want them even to have to discuss to them.
Right.
So I would put the one glaring thing up there, the face. I'd have three metrics up there, on TrackMan, and say, well, look at your face, look at your path. Well, one's minus and one's plus, or one's plus, one's minus, one of the two, whatever way your ball's going. Can we get those numbers closer together? What would do that the fastest? Well, I just make my face minus, match my pattern or my path. Bingo, you got it. Let's go.
Right.
So they're
Right.
buying in right away. Yeah, with
Right.
asking
Right.
questions, they buy in faster. And my I guess my biggest fault is maybe I give away, maybe I'm too carefree with my time, and because I'm really into it, I'm really passionate about what I do, and I really want that person in front of me to get better, because I know how good it feels to hit a good shot, not let alone win a golf tournament or go that far, but just to hit a good shot, the satisfaction that would bring somebody, it's mind blowing. It really is. It really is kind of cool to see.
Right. So there are instructors because I've heard them, and they're pretty good instructors. They're paying me to tell them the right thing to do, and I tell them. But I'm thinking, I don't teach that way. When I'm working with people, I try to get them they let them come up with the answer. I try not to tell them the answer, to be honest with you. What do you think of that?
Well, that's spot on, and I'll tell them, well, some of the challenges that we're facing here, and I'm no biomechanical expert, and I'm not going to pretend to be, but you can see limitations in people. And say, hey, let's get a second opinion. Go see this guy over here. He's a great biomechanical expert. If you really want to get good and want to get stronger and faster, what do you think about that? He says, yeah, I really need that. That would really help me feel healthier too. I'm like, yeah, it's a good buy-in to health too. So I think that you know, you really move them in the direction they want to go, but you're really kind of telling them where to go.
Right.
But like you said, it's kind of their idea. And yeah, they come in, they come in, a lot of people come in there asking for a sermon. Okay, you tell me to do this, 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 and this. I'm like, no, I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just gonna, kind of explain what you're doing and what some of your, your shortcomings are in your game. But it usually boils down to one or two things that you kind of already know what's going on. You know it.
Right.
Well,
Interesting.
I want to be more consistent. It's like, well, you're pretty consistent being inconsistent. Can we say that? So, so let's go and move forward from that. And what one or two things could we accomplish in this hour and a half to make you, let's say, a percentage, 50% more effective at what you do under this pattern?
That's pretty
Um,
cool because you got the numbers you can use too to show them that they're getting better.
yeah, yeah, right, right, exactly. Well, the ball tells you the one thing. I always believe the ball is the determining factor of everything. But then, you know what? Well, am I really moving that much better? Well, let's take a look. Okay, your side bend went from 40 degrees to, okay, 32 degrees. We made a significant change there, which just means your pressure is getting to your left side more. And okay, good. Everything's moving the right way. Keep going.
Nice, nice.
So
So,
those things really, those things really help. I tell you, if I work, with some Far East people, because they really look at the Indian people, really expect that technology and they expect to see that technology. That's all they've been taught. These kids have been taught vis-a-vis this technology. I mean, if I don't have it, they're not gonna come in my bay.
well, I was just thinking too, if a brain surgeon's using artificial intelligence and technology, a golf coach has to use artificial intelligence and he'd be a fool not to use it, you know?
Uh, yeah, and I always thought was kind of the old curmudgeon that said, "No, no, I can see the golf ball. I know what's going on." I didn't know 4 or 5 degree, side bend or waist tilt or extended, non-extended, or a lot more tilt at impact would give this person more vertical acceleration and impact. I didn't know a 4 or 5 degrees meant 5 or 6 miles an hour club head speed.
Yeah,
You kidding me?
you're light years ahead of me, Brian.
Well, I mean, yeah, but and this is stuff I've learned within the last 10 years. This is like coming at you so fast
Yeah.
that I'm sitting around, I got 2 hours between sessions. I'm sitting there reading this stuff. I'm like, I gotta try this. I gotta get my mat out. I gotta get this AI out, and I gotta try this stuff in my own game. I'm like, oh my god, as limited as I am, it's even giving me a couple miles an hour faster with my driver. This is incredible stuff.
Yeah,
So,
when I work with my friends here, it's still I look at the ball flight, I change their grip a little bit so they can square the club face up, and that's about it, I don't have access to all this technology.
yeah, I mean, once you have it, I mean, I'd hate to say, it's kind of fun good on the golf course and not having that. I call it a crutch, but the golf ball will look similar to how it looked when you're, not in that bay, maybe out in the grass in front of that bay and still have that technology in front of you. So that ball kind of looks the same way it did over there, didn't it? So you can make that walk from that little bay area over there to the golf course and still have confidence that you can do that same pattern or feel that same pattern and deliver that ball flight. And you can walk that person across the street to the golf course and make them play better golf.
So with James Pyatt, what's one thing that stands out with him that made him such a great?
Um, his tenacity. It is just I don't know if, I can't say that I gave it to him. His dad was a pretty decent player and he still is an okay player. But we were pretty hard on James and when he was a kid. We didn't accept, he was something special about that kid. As hard as I was on him, you gotta vacuum my bay before I go out and play today. Okay, where's the vacuum? Let's go. I'm like, oh, okay. The kid keeps coming back for more, but his tenacity and I don't know, his overachievement. Maybe I gave him some of that. And at that time, I was playing good between 2010, 2015. He saw what it took to really play in a major, the ramp up, the ramp down, some of the mental stuff that I would do. games with myself and shaping balls on the range. But I think James took all that in and formulated his own opinion. But it'd be pouring rain. James is out there. James didn't care. James
Right.
wanted to win.
He loved it. He loved it. Yeah.
He loved just
Tenacity.
every battle.
Tenacity is a good word.
Yeah. I think tenacity is what, James smiles and jokes around a lot, but you get him on the golf course, he's an assassin. He's great.
So you were hard on him, and the reason you could be hard on him was because he loved it so much, and he did have that tenacity.
He kept coming back for more. I'm like, what's this kid, a psycho? It was kind of brutal to him yesterday. Not brutal to the end that I beat the crap out of him, but I kind of it was pretty tough on him. I said, "I got it, James. You just didn't. He's over there hitting balls. You're not playing enough golf. Get over there and get your butt on the golf course. So you go play 36 holes." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Something different about this kid. He's listening to me, and then he comes back, goes, "Okay, what you got for me today?" I'm like, "Whoa." you know, the kid
And I'm
was
thinking, did you know his dream? Like, did you know that he wanted to be one of the best in the world? Therefore, you knew you had to be hard on him.
I don't know if that or it just happened to be that way. Jordan Young kind of brought me over there when I was, first started there in early 2009. And he said, just work with this kid. He won't listen to me. He's just, and James goes, "Oh, you the guy that's going to get me to the PGA Tour?" I'm like, "Whatever, kid. Come on, let's hit some balls, see what you got." And from that moment on, this kid just, man, he still looks at me like that. It's still kind of funny, when he's asking me a question, he looks at me like, "All right, dude, what do you got for me?" And he turns his head and pays attention when I speak to him. He's always been very respectful like that. I mean, really well up, good upbringing and everything, but he's always given me that respect that, man, I'm living on your word here. Let's go.
Right. Now, what gives you more joy, playing or teaching?
Teaching. Not
Yeah.
even close anymore. I guess I'm evolving. I'm still grumpy about playing, but playing poorly, I guess. But joy in and of itself, if I could play with 3 students every day for the rest of my life, that would be the cat's meow. That would just
Now,
be awesome.
when James is playing in a big event, and let's say he wins the event or he's going to win the event, are you more nervous watching him or more nervous when you're playing?
Oh, I'm not nervous playing anymore. Yes, I am nervous. Actually, I'm not nervous when I'm playing bad. I'm extremely nervous when I'm playing well because I'm waiting for the gauntlet to come. But yeah, watching James on the Live Tour for 2 years and pretty much walking around every round of golf for 2 years with him out there I was in good shape. I was slim because I was nervous, man. Nervous energy burns a lot of energy on you and burns a lot of
Right.
fat. But that's hard to do. When he won the USAM, I wasn't there because I just feel at that point in my career, I'm like, you know what? I've gotten this kid ready. I got him through the practice rounds, and I had 3 or 4 other guys there at the USAM at Oakmont, and I got these guys ready. They're all ready to play. I just got to get the heck out of the way, And I went home, watched it on TV. It was great.
Were
But
you nervous
that's
watching him?
Oh yeah, yeah. And a couple other guys were like, "Oh man, he's back to even. He's back to even." It's like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand this guy. He's not going to give it up. He's not going. He's got the pedal down. He's got his foot. He's got spiked shoes on. He's got the foot on the neck right now. It's kill time. It's kill time. James is going in for the kill, and it was. It was really cool to watch how that tenacity in this kid just took over, and it fueled him toward the end of 9 rounds of golf to win the United States Amateur. It was, I mean, that was really cool. It's still cool
Yeah.
watching it once in a while, But even the other players that have developed under I went to the U.S. Open with a guy this year that nobody ever thought would even play professionally. He's playing the U.S. Open. How you like it now, guys? Never, ever doubt the heart inside the size of the lion. The lion could be small, but that heart could be huge, and he's going to win.
Right, right. So On the latest, I don't know if been following this. Gary Player, I guess, has been analyzing Jordan Spieth's golf swing,
Yep.
and I guess Jordan Spieth is what I'm getting out of it, is trying to bow his left wrist. Is that what he's trying to do? And it's messing up his swing.
Well, that pattern has been going on for some time. And I'm not going to say good, bad, or indifferent. I'm like, it's a pattern that either was taught to him or that he liked. And, us as instructors would say, well, that pattern could lead to an injury, or that pattern's not going to develop what you want. But, which way do you want this ball to go? The player has to buy into that. So there's some
Right,
give and takes as instructors. So for Gary Player to
right,
step
right, right,
inside that arena, I think is, maybe you should go watch one of the times with, you know, Spieth and his instructor, who's extremely brilliant. The guy's really smart at what he does,
right.
and I've seen him and Spieth work together at majors, and it's pretty good stuff that they're talking about. So, a weak wristed or weak grip person trying to bow their wrist on the downswing could seem extremely extreme, could seem very extreme to somebody, for somebody that just rotated their arms and hands through impact like Gary Player. Face speed was developed differently 25, 30 years ago than it is now. We
You know,
extend our wrist now to create speed from a bowed position. So a flex position or a bow position. And back then, you just had the club face opening and closing develop speed. So I don't know that he understands fully what happens to wrist angles in the golf swing. I didn't really read into it that deeply. So I would say that I don't know he knows enough about how the wrist angles work relative to the angles of the arms.
you know what? I think like Gary Player, like most of us, he's a Monday morning quarterback. It's really easy to criticize after the fact.
Right. Was Spieth kind of fallen off the planet? Well, I don't know. His family upbringing. He had a sister who was, had some mental challenges, and he grew up with that. And he's a nice guy, a nice enough guy. He's maybe a little much on the golf course, but the guy won. This guy has won his whole career at every level.
Right, right.
So to kind of hyper criticize that, like you said, a Monday quarterback, I think is going a little bit outside of his area of expertise, number one, and number two, kind of outlandish to me. Because Spieth, I mean, you remember that when he won that FedEx Cup at the Athletic Club, he told his caddy, Keller, Mike Geller, I guess his name is, where that ball was going to go, and he's behind a tree. So I'm just going to hit it over there. I'm just going to get it up and down. I'm going to make that putt. And man, he did it. So he was a showman like that, and he knew how to guide his ball around the golf course, albeit it was crooked. But he did it. He won. He won 3 majors.
Yeah,
Huh,
three majors. Yeah. Yep.
that's pretty incredible. I mean, this day and age to win 1 major, let alone 3 majors, and then to win the FedEx Cup and now you get married, and with the family upbringing you have, really good family person, and you're worth a lot of money, and you're set, and you're starting a family. I mean, priorities change. Scheffler said it so eloquently a few weeks ago. So this isn't the end all. My golf game, my end game is not my golf game. It's my family. And Rocco told me that 25, 30 years ago. Hey, Bri, I got enough money. I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to retire. And then he got beat by Tiger on that Monday when he
Right.
finally came to that resolve that this is not the end all. I'm good. I'll be okay. So I think
Now, if
Spieth has kind of come to that part of his maybe his life.
if I was Scotty Scheffler's coach, and
Randy
after what I would tell him after hearing his comments at the Open, I would say, why don't you give a percentage of your winnings to a charity that you care about? So now when you're on the golf course, it means a little more. Because it sounds like, hey, I win, who cares, This
Yeah,
way,
I think
if he's giving 10 or 20% to a charity, it's going to mean a little more to him.
yeah, I think he does that. And there's a
He probably
difference
does, you're
between
right.
somebody who can write a check and somebody that can literally get in their car and go drive there and spend time. Time's the most valuable asset we have.
Right.
So for a guy like Scheffler, Justin Rose's unbelievable philanthropy, with the Rose Foundation, just he gives us time. And I think Scheffler's the same way. I don't think it's a dollar amount writing a check. That's the answer to that guy. I think it's time.
Right.
And and
For,
uh,
for me, it was sad to hear, though, that what he makes a living at really doesn't give him a feeling of he accomplished anything other than winning something. When you give a golf lesson, you're actually helping somebody. He's thinking I'm just playing
right,
golf and I'm a good father.
right, and which is is as calling in life to be a good father and be a good father figure. Yeah, I think he's a very Christian person, and it was kind of probably beating his head really early on. This very early on that you have to be good to people, and you know what, you'll get paid back from getting good stuff back from other people. And I think that's kind of how he's meandered his life. And Randy's talked about it to me a lot of times. And man, this is a really good kid. He really gets it. And Randy was right. And then when he speaks about it, it's like, wow, this kid does get it, in his own way. And he's meandering through life. He's paddling down this rocky river, and he's kind of just not getting hit by any rocks here. He's kind of just
Right.
dancing
Yeah.
around it. He kind of seems like he's out in the golf course, just free of any obstructions. Doesn't look stressed.
He
He
looks
doesn't
pretty
look
confident out
stressed.
there.
He looks pretty much in control of his golf ball, because I think, like I tell these players that I teach, you gotta have your back office in order. Your mental, we call it mental coaching, you call it anything else, you call it your physical strengthening, but you gotta have your back office cleaned up. And if there's something wrong at home, you're not gonna play good golf. You
Yeah.
know,
Sooner or later, it's going to catch up to you.
it's gonna get you, yeah. So it's kind of the modern golfer. I don't know. It's kind of gone from the Tiger do to kind of chill out and play in 16, 17 events and do less. And, you know, hopefully I can play well in the majors.
So, in closing,
Yes.
uh, I've been sober for 38 years. I don't crave alcohol anymore. Are you the same on the same page?
I don't crave it because I'm not afraid of it, but I will never go back to it because it's ridiculous to think that would give me anything that would help me. I've kind of moved on to the fact this is, from the fact that the craving's gone, I guess you would say. Maybe I miss the taste, of it, gin on the rocks, whatever you might want to call it. Um, but I just don't need that feeling. I don't need to be high because I really want to be alert and be there for somebody if they need me, and or the other way around. If I need
Exactly.
somebody, I got to be in a condition in order to do it. But why not live life sober and fully conscious and really take
Exactly.
everything in? We're seeing kind of clearly now, Leo. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm really clear right now.
Yeah,
It's cool.
exactly. So anybody out there who is struggling with alcohol, reach out to Brian or myself, and we'd be more than happy to talk to you and tell you about our experience with it.
Right. Yeah, I had they after the 15 senior player of the year, they did a photo shoot the PGA did on me. And the whole thing was about alcohol and substance abuse and how I conquered it and this and that. And I probably got 400 phone calls,
Beautiful,
you know,
beautiful,
which is cool. I can point you in a direction and actually help you. Wow. Yeah, I can
beautiful.
do that. It was kind of, humbling that I could actually help somebody in that manner, but you can do this, yeah, we can. Been there, done that. And we'll kind of help you, guide you along just by a couple phone calls and you're on your way.
That's pretty cool, Brian. 400 people called you up. That had to feel pretty good to you.
Well, it was kind of scary to think that I could give somebody advice about something, first of all, outside of golf, because a lot of the parents say, well, listen to everything in golf, but everything outside of golf, don't pay attention to that guy. He's crazy. But
Addiction's real, and
it's real. It is
and
so
if you can
real.
help people, it's good.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, this has been great. I never spoke to you, prior to today. This was excellent. And what I got out of all this was technology is here, and
Yep.
use it or get left in the dust, basically. Uh,
I
tenacity.
yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you have to have it. You have to have it sitting there and says, hey, can we use some of that stuff? Yep. Okay. I mean, I'll still use it whether they know it or not, but you have to have it. That's how people learn nowadays, especially kids.
And James Pyatt had tenacity, and that's what got him to where he is today. And I
Mm.
like what you said about you got to have your back office in order. It helps.
Yeah. Got to have your ducks in a row. You want to set up a business like my wife started a dental practice and she's still trying to get her back office cleaned up and she's starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. You got to have that back office so she can look in someone's mouth and analyze, diagnose, and fix, you know, the important stuff. But it's taken a long time to formulate that, though, Leo. It's been a long haul, and all the great instructors I get. I guess the older they get, kind of the better they get. You know, the ability to evolve and learn and really sit down and listen to people. I guess we get older, we start listening more and not just blabbering away at spewing information to somebody, but listening to what the person really wants and how to help them
Very
there.
good. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
All right, Brian. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it, and we'll
Thank you.
definitely be talking more after today.
Okay. Thank you, Leo. Appreciate it. Keep up the great work.
Have a good night.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Cheers.